Overhead at the Slovakiaring, we're a little bit over 30 kilometers from the capital of the country, Bratislava, on a very cool and wet Saturday. Very wet track already for round 7 and 8 of the FIA World Touring Car Championship, and the skies promise a lot more rain, which is disappointing for the Slovak and Hungarian fans. We're only about an hour and a half drive from the capital of Hungary, where we were racing last week. Michał Kopslowski back in the pits with a smoky larder after an outlap that had to be terminated early. Everybody else, well, are they going to be making a gamble? Martin Haven here, Matt Neal alongside me. Matt, it doesn't really look like a track that will reward a gamble on tyres.
It's amazing the contrast in weather conditions from yesterday, today, and even this morning. So, woke up this morning and it was clear blue sky and puffy clouds over the top. So the teams are going to be working frantically to get their wet setups on the car. And it's going to be a journey into the unknown. No driver has had a wet lap round here yet this year in this new regulations car. So it could favour the Citroens, you know, with their dominance. But, you know, it's going to be an opportunity. The larders were very quick in Hungary, especially Huffy in damp conditions. Or in Ricard. So, you know, anything could happen for us.
Well, these high-speed corners, especially turn 2, 200 kilometres now, flat out in top gear, not in these conditions. There are several braking areas that can offer an overtaking opportunity. Turn 1, definitely. Turn 3, absolutely. And then a tight, twisty infield section where grip is at a premium. We could see cars making mistakes and leaving the door open for others. After that, it's the long return back past the pits up to the long sweeping corner 13 at the end of the lap. That can also offer a chance to pass.
Across the line up to 6th gear, going to put the lights on because we're on a hot lap. Someone coming out of the pits, which makes life a little bit difficult for the braking zone at turn 1. 100 metres on the brakes down to 4th gear. Get it into the apex, big bump, bit of oversteer there, get on the power, understeer it out across the curb, onto that extra bit of tarmac just there. Turn 2 coming up fastest one of the corner, we're going to turn in, flat in 6th gear, little lift as we just get the nose in, get on the power, back's moving around a little bit, pit the exit, off onto the rumble strips there, which we're allowed to do here. Over the crest into turn 3, hard on the brakes at about the 100 metre, get it stopped down the hill, down into 3rd gear. Keep it in nice and tight on the apex, spot the exit, squeezing the power, got a bit of wheel spin there and a bit of understeer on the exit, back to the right, back into the left, flat all the way through here, up to 5th, turn in, 200 k's in 5th gear, little lift, bit of moving around from the rear, brake, down to 3rd, late wide entry here, bit of oversteer on the entry, car's not behaving itself very well so far this weekend, back to the left, tight left-hand corner down to 2nd, spot the exit, trying to get on the power too early, don't want too much wheel spin, up to 3rd, up to 4th, flat turn in at 4th, pull 5th, little lift, try and get a bit of understeer through this corner, just had a big slide here, got a yellow white flag from a slow car on the track. Valente's got a problem by the looks of it, we'll try and avoid him, get it turned in tight. We've got Tarquini in front of us, hopefully he's going to get out of the way because we seem to be on a bit more of a lap than he does, or he's going to stay in the way, out to the right, get a bit of a slipstream off Gabrielli, just let us pass nicely, not slowed us down too much at all. Picking the braking point bumpy for the last corner, just after 100 metres, get on the brakes. One thing about these new TC1 cars is they definitely stop quite a bit quicker than the old ones. Try and keep it in, reduce the understeer, get on the power, use as much track on the exit as possible, and across the finish line. Hope you enjoyed it.
Well, a great lap from Rob Huff, showing what conditions were like yesterday, Matt, for qualifying. Nice, dry, warmish and sunny. And you can see the track workers just making final preparations. Cars on the grid, it's windy. It is drying out. The question is it going to dry out enough for anybody to dare gamble on a mixture of tyres? You can have all wets, all slicks, or a combination of the two.
I think any driver is going to be very, very brave to try and mix it up from anything bar the wets. And you know, the leading guys, they're going to be watching who blinks first with their tyre choice, and they're all going to be shadowing each other, and I think going for the safer option, which is wets here today. It's still pretty damp out there. There's still a little bit of drizzle in the air, so we don't know how quickly it's going to dry out, especially with not much running on here in the damp, because it was scorching hot last year, So it's, you know, very minimal experience here, bar any testing people have done.
Does dry out pretty quickly, especially with this stiff wind. It was wet this morning when we woke up at 7 o'clock. It was dry by 7:30. It dried out again very quickly during the European Touring Car race first encounter. So maybe Tom Coronel, if he's looking at the sky and doesn't think any more rain is coming, might be going with a gamble.
Yokohama, your tire. Where performance matters, you'll find Total Quartz.
Wet cars on a wet grid, and Matt Neal, what nobody wants on a wet track, somebody has left oil, and that somebody we have to assume, Mikhail Kozlowski, who brought his Lada back in, smoking heavily from under the bonnet. So for the second week in a row, his Lada is hors de combat.
Yeah, it's not good, Martin, at all. I mean, because oil just disperses, and it'll make the first few laps, well, it just won't clear up. It'll be treacherous out there, and putting cement dust on it is a bit like sprinkling cement dust onto the surface of the Atlantic, trying to get that up. So I think they're flogging a dead horse there.
They are a little bit. So Thiago Monteiro starts 10th, Hugo Vallant 9th, Gabriele Tarquini 8th, which means 3rd on the race 2 grid for Tarquini, behind Monteiro, the poleman, and Vallant alongside. So Honda with a great opportunity to do something in race 2.
Now, interesting here, Martin, we're just looking at these tyres. Obviously, they've got some, you see the scrubbed wets there. Now, if you run new wets, you'll get an incredible amount of grip early on, but they'll drop off faster and more when with they've been scrubbed. If they've managed to scrub them, then they should be longer, but not quick so quickly.
We have seen a wet race in the World Touring Car history for 2014 already. One man who was in the commentary box rather than in the race seat was Tom Coronel. Tom, how do you approach this race, having no experience in this car, on this track, in the wet?
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. It's for me the first time in the wet. 380 horsepower on the front wheels. But just in the warm-up lap, I went through the pit and I felt more grip than I had expected. But it will be a difficult one because for sure the front-wheel drive cars, we will scrub the fronts a lot and probably our front tires will go down. So at the end it will be very difficult.
Thanks very much.
No problem.
Tom Coronel, as Ben so correctly says, when we were watching the wet races in France, was in the commentary booth. His car wrecked, of course, in Marrakesh. It's now all in one piece and back together after some enormous amount of midnight oil burning by the Roal Motorsport team, and I'm sure Tommy will do his best to try and help them. And Matt, of course, that tyre scrub on the front-wheel drive car will be mitigated if you are using a slick. It'll be less grippy to start with on the wet weather, but it won't overheat so badly.
Well, I think it sounds like Tom's going for brand new. If we could just focus in on those tyres, see where Tom's going. Same
That's
team as
Tom Chilton. He's got wets, and you can see it is still raining.
It is wets, but it's brand new wets or scrubbed wets. They haven't been heat cycled, so it sounds like both the Roal Motorsport guys, both the Toms, are going with brand new wets, and it means they've got to look after a bit more. They'll have a lot more grip in the opening couple of laps, but they will drop off, so they've got to look after them.
Gianni Morbidelli, the only man not driving a Citroën to have won a race this year, and he will start in 5th position. Norbert Michelis 4th, the only truly competitive Honda in Q2. He got through into the Q3 group. Had a really good run here so far after real disappointment. That home jinx always seems to strike World Touring Car drivers. Ivan Muller will line up in 3rd place. Just didn't quite get the best out of his Citroën C-Élysée in qualifying. He went through into Q3, the fast 5 from the second period of qualifying, but he lines up as the 3rd of our Citroëns. He is 2nd in the championship standings. He's now 12 points behind his teammate who sits on pole, who leads the standings. Sebastian Loeb in 2nd place. Great qualifying lap from the World Rally champion. Really put the cat among the pigeons, and it took a stunning effort from Jose Maria Lopez to put his car on pole position. He is on fresh wets, so too it would seem is everybody else on unscrubbed new wet weather tyres. Jose Maria Lopez, the man on pole position for Total Citroën Racing.
Yokohama, your tire.
The spray being thrown up immediately by the tyres, even as we set off on the formation lap. And that, it gives you an indication of just how tough a job it's going to be for anybody on row 2 backwards on this grid. Our onboards with Lopez, Muller, Michelic, Morbidelli. We've got a host more of them as well. Mikhail Kozlowski still in the cockpit of his Lada Granta Sport, hoping against hope that the team can find some way of getting it to run, and watching the timing and reading tweets on his iPad, because we do multitask. He's not on Twitter, I don't think, Mikhail. We'll have to have a little look at that. Jose Maria Lopez, our championship leader and pole sitter. Ivan Muller starts third, Sebastian Loeb second. Thiago Montero and Gabriele Tarquini first and third, with Hugo Vallant second on the race 2 grid. And that could be just as wet, if not wetter. Well, let's hear what the conditions are like from Gabriele Tarquini.
Welcome to Slovakiaring. It's a very wet day for this first race. I mean, condition new for everybody. We never test on the wet condition, so it will be a very tough race for everybody, because nobody had the chance to test on this track in this condition. I hope you will enjoy this race, full of, I think, overtaking, full of emotion and show. And see you next race. See you on the second race. Bye-bye.
Well, let's wish everybody a safe race. Anybody who watched the start of last night's Grand Prix of Indy will know just how dangerous racing can get occasionally when things go wrong. Francesco Pasquale Di Sabatino leading the Yokohama Trophy. Yukinori Taniguchi's Honda blew its engine last weekend, incidentally, and there is no spare. They had to build one up specially at Honda in last year's spec for that car. And presumably they will now have to go and build another one, unless they can build him a TC1 car, however. Warm-up lap here, down in the pits, Ben Cosenduris, Alex Legui, and up in the commentary box, staying nice and warm and dry, Martin Haven and Matt Neal. And Matt, it is properly filthy, isn't it? I mean, they're vile conditions.
Martin, as the old saying goes, it's wetter than a knotter's pocket, so it's certainly going to be a challenge, and spray and vision is going to be a real challenge out there in the first few laps for these guys. You know, we've got 4 big, long 5th, 6th gear straights, so you know you're going to see them ducking out, trying to get us just a sighter of where the corner is at the end of the straight, and you know we're just going to hope they all get round safely.
Looking back from Jose Maria Lopez and looking forward from James Thompson, you see the same thing, a lot of water filling the air. Mikhail Kozlowski, with nothing to do, I'm afraid, but join the team watching on TV. And wherever they are, everybody with everything crossed. As Matt Neal says, there are a lot of very quick corners here, and the potential for things to go wrong when the friction circle is so low, really quite large.
One fortunate thing, Martin, is it doesn't look as though we've got much standing water out there, because that's one of the tricky things with the vision, is hitting the standing water. But here comes the rain again, so
yep.
we could be getting it quite soon.
It is pelting down now, real stair rods here in Slovakia. What happened to our European summer, I want to know. The grid is complete. Yves Maton, Citroën Racing, watches on. His men first, second and third on the grid. On your right, on the driver's left, Jose Maria Lopez, the pole man. Daniel Elena, Sebastian Loeb's co-driver there, watching intently with the beard as his longtime buddy and partner starts on the outside front row. It's Lopez on your right, Loeb on your left, Muller behind. Watch for Tarquini as well, starting down in 8th place. He always starts strongly. Huff and Borkovic show quickly. Tarquini gets stuck up behind Montero. Loeb takes the lead from the I don't know, could it be any drier side of the grid? I don't know. Mikulicz in second in the black Honda. Everybody else fourth, 4 wide as they funnel into the first turn. And Lopez in second, Mikulicz third, Muller struggling to stay in front of last year's teammate Tom Chilton. Coronel, the blue car, coming through into 6th place. Franz Engsler has found the outside line and got rolled out of bed there. Muller gets his nose in front of Chilton. Just about everybody got through safely. And now they come down to the first major braking episode of the lap, Matt, and Sebastian Loeb with the lead, visibility and everything in his favour.
Yeah, it's amazing. Muller got absolutely engulfed at the start, and he is normally the master of getting it off the line in slippy conditions. So he's definitely got all the work to do now from the Citroen boys, and he's going to have to work hard just to get past Mikulicz now with.
Great start from Huff, looking there at the red car of Rob Huff. He's got in front of both Hondas. Just in front of him, Gianni Morbidelli is hurling the car at the corners. I'm not sure he's fully up to speed yet with the rear steer of that RML Chevy in the rain. But yeah, Loeb made the best of that, didn't he? And Muller in 4th place, but he's going to have to get by Norby.
Yeah, Huff's up to 8th now. We got both the Raul Motorsport Chevys of Chilton and Coronel making chase of Muller in 4th place, so they can hang on to his back. If anything comes, they can follow him through.
That's Coronel, the blue car, Morbidelli, the black and white, and one of the Hondas has got by Rob Huff, and that'll be Gabriele Tarquini, I think. No, it's Thiago Montero behind. Morbidelli harassing Coronel. And Tarquini, Huff and Montero coming through. The Dayglow yellow Hugo Vallant, who you can spot in any kind of conditions. That car's so easy. Then Dusan Borkovic, Rennie Munich and Mehdi Banani from the last row of the grid. Banani, great effort from him. Where's he got himself up to? 14th place. He's already picked off 6 cars. And looking down the inside comes Montero, trying to get by Huffy. And Banani on the inside of Rennie Munich. He puts that one to bed. So despite the fact that it is the sort of treacherous conditions, you'd be creeping around at 40 miles an hour in your road car, they are racing wheel to wheel as Loeb leads after lap 1. But what they need now is for the rain to continue if they're in Citroens, and for it to stop immediately if they're in anything else. On board with Thompson.
Look at that beautiful view you've got there. The rain, it's hard to tell from the TV camera angles as Montero just making the move on Huffy, but it's hard to tell from the TV angles, the rain, but it is still coming down, but it's reduced to a sort of a faint drizzle now. But what we can just see on the TV is just purely the spray being thrown up by these super efficient Yokohama race tyres.
10-inch wide tyre, moving a lot of water. Loeb from Lopez, who is now going quicker than the leader. Mikulicz 3rd, Muller 4th, Chilton, Coronel, Morbidelli, Tarquini, Huff, Montero, and then Hugo Vallant. There's Norby, still in 3rd. Well, it was Honda's Thiago Montero that was captain podium last weekend for them, a 2nd and a 3rd. Norby struggled all weekend with his car. It looks like it's now behaving itself nicely. And Ivan Muller's going to have to be a little patient with this one, Matt.
I disagree, Martin. I think he needs to get his skates on. You know, he's got to make chase of the other 2, otherwise he's going to lose them. And he's going to be. What they're going to be doing now is they're all going to be exploring the wet lines. And as I say, wet lines, you see they're not on the apex going through. I think it was turn 9 there. Yeah. And because the racing line gets impregnated with rubber, so the water will almost bead on it, so it's just very, very slippy. So you explore these wet lines, and there'll be grip in certain areas and not other areas, but just find that fresh asphalt, fresh, bit coarser asphalt, which is smoothed over, where you can find a little bit more grip. This is, they call it the old karting line, but yeah. There'll be a definite element of them all trying this.
Ooh! Now, jump start for Ivan Muller. Was he rolling before the lights changed? Yes. Surely that's a penalty.
Well, he did stop, but in the word of the rule of the word of the rule.
Yeah. he was stationary well, and Muller's off.
There you go.
No, into the pit lane. So he has been handed a penalty, drive-through penalty. So it's not been notified on your screen. It has just come up on our pit board. Well, in answer to your thought about he must get by Mikulicz in a hurry, my answer to that would be, yeah, but even if he gets up behind the other 2, in this weather, is he going to be allowed to race? I don't think so. I think Citroen will say we're 1, 2, 3. It's vile. The only thing that's going to happen is you're going to hit each other. Stop racing immediately. Well, he's now out of the race, Muller.
He's not out of the race, Martin. He's just down the back, but
yeah,
behind everybody.
Behind James Thompson. Meanwhile, we're looking now at the battle for 4th, Chilton versus Coronel. Race leader Sebastian Loeb, the fastest man on track here, as you might expect. Ivan Muller came back in front of James Thompson. So he is now up into 15th position from 3rd with that drive-through penalty for a false start. Tom Chilton and Tom Coronel, teammates at Royal Motorsport. Roberto Ravaglia here at the track for the first time in several weeks. Damaged his hip quite badly recently and is on crutches, feeling very under the weather. Starting to look his age, which for anybody who knows Ravaglia is the first time that's happened in about 20 years. And Bernani has had a major wobble. Just got away with that. Oh, my goodness.
Oh.
Keep it buried. Keep it buried. There you go. They both had a major wobble. Dusan Borkovic and Mehdi Bernani. And Matt, that's where front-wheel drive and keeping your foot in the floorboards helps.
Certainly, Bernani was taking evasive action there. But I'm just looking at the timing monitors, Martin, and those two front Citroens have bolted. I mean, and bolted in style. They are, well, obviously Lopez is giving chase to Loeb, but they are some 2 seconds a lap quicker than anyone else on the grid at the moment. And it's going to be interesting now. Muller's dropped back in the sort of mid-teens on the progress he can make. If he can take their sort of speed, we should be able to watch some a bit of sport as he carves his way through.
I think you're absolutely right. They're doing 2:18s. These guys are doing 2-minute 21s. Even Norby in his Honda doing 2:20s, and Muller really trying hard. No question about it. Really trying hard. Got a tyre on the white line, didn't he? There, it looked like as between 11 and 12.
It's very uncharacteristic for Ivan Muller.
Yeah.
You know, my questions are: has he gone for an alternative setup, gambling it was going to dry out a bit, or is the pressure really getting to him?
Good question. Well, he said he is finding these new cars very hard to drive. All the instincts that have been finely tuned over 10 years of Super 2000 car racing don't work with the aero, with the bigger tyre, with the bigger brakes, with the different chassis, with the more grip. It's not instinctive anymore. Now he's having to really dig deep and work on it. And these two guys, with less information to draw on, if you like, are dealing with what they get. And he is struggling to adapt to that. Battle for 4th still rages. Tom Chilton from Tom Coronel. Identical chassis, different colour scheme, but run by the same Royal Motorsport team. So who's got the right setup in these conditions? It does look as though Coronel could go quicker, but Matt, so often it's easier to chase than to lead, isn't it?
Oh, I mean, you can just judge the braking points and everything of your lead car, but obviously you've got the spray in the vision as a bit of a handicap. I'm just looking, I mean, Michelitz, he's a good step forward from these guys. He's a second lap up the road in lap time. But he's still 2 seconds back on the Citroens. Yeah. But these guys are sort of mid to high 21s at the moment. So, you know, Muller should be able to close these down as long as he can keep it facing forwards.
On the island. Well, he is still only 14th. Peter Foulin has now got to the lead of the TC2 class, the 2-litre cars, the old Super 2000 cars. Mehdi Bernani makes it round Dusan Borkovic, and here comes Muller. Oh, and as we see Borkovic having a monster lose, same corner as before, but a bigger off this time. That's what happened to his rear arch. No contact from Bernani. Muller sends it up the inside. Does he judge it right? Yes, drops into the gap, so he picks up a space. Borkovic was 11th, Bernani's now 11th, Muller now 12th. So, Bernani. Oh.
Now, let's have that's going to be interesting. I was going to compare the straight line of the Citroen and the Honda there, but Muller just seemed to be able to pull inside. No, he was going down the outside.
Yeah. But in a straight line, Bernani is still pulling back alongside the Citroen. Not too much wrong with the Honda motor, you've got to say, in a straight line there. As it gets its legs, it's really starting to pull back. Now, they may not have the traction that nearly a year of testing has given Citroen. William de Braquelaire at Honda Racing looking very happy. But I tell you what...
Oh, Hugo Valente,
yeah,
he was just...
there is some standing
There
water
is some
there,
standing
isn't there?
water now.
It is raining very hard. It is getting much, much wetter. And Ivan Muller, this is almost ice racing now. Sebastian Loeb from Jose Maria Lopez. That's your 1-2. They are still lapping quicker than anybody else. 2-minute 18s, still in the 2-minute 18s. Fastest lap for each, a 2-minute 18.1 for Loeb and 2 for Lopez. And they're doing a 2:18.4 and a 2:18.2. It is raining harder and harder. There were some very, very low black clouds early on, and it is now just unbelievably vile. And Chilton drifts a little wide. Here comes Coronel. Tom can't defend that against Tom, so has to let him through. And that, in this instance, you know, when you sit behind somebody, you almost don't have to force a mistake. It is going to come in this weather.
You can see the front end of Chilton's car is squiggling and squirming. It's so much of a lottery driving in these conditions, Martin. It's how you hit the puddles on the track and the standing water and everything.
You can see the tracks Chilton left there. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Coronel just had more grip up the inside then.
Yeah. Well, he turned in from wider, so Chilton was on the racing line being defensive, and that's, as you said, all the little gaps in the tarmac are full of rubber, and so the water sits on the top of it. This is the battle for second and third. I beg your pardon, this is the battle for third and fourth. Pasquale Di Sabatino ahead of Franz Engstler, or he was last lap. Engstler's got back in front of his Italian teammate. So the two front-wheel drive cars, Peter Foulin and John Filippi, the two Seats run by Campos, are first and second in the class. And in these conditions, probably not a surprise. What did we always say about the rear drive BMWs in the rain? Their tyre temperatures went through the floor, didn't they? And it was just deadly.
Just focusing back on the Citroens there. It'd be lovely if we don't get any team orders and Lopez can put Loeb on under some proper pressure here. Look at them, they're squirming and everything under the water. That start-finish straight looks positively lethal now.
The Citroens are now nearly a second a lap slower on that last lap than they were the previous one. And look, the camera can barely make out the cars. Yes, now 2 seconds on the last lap. The previous lap was 1 second slower. And we may be in a situation where our race director has no option but to red flag this, because cars are going to have monster accidents on a 230 km/h front straight, which is straight and as wide as an airfield.
That's not nice.
No.
I've had that experience. That is certainly not nice to drive.
This is now entering the realms of literal ice racing, and the speed coming right down. Everybody is tippy-toeing around. Vile conditions in Slovakia. On board with Rob Huff as he battles Gabriele Tarquini for 8th place. Just in front, Thiago Montero's Honda. Morbidelli is 6th. There's Viktor Shapovalov watching Huffy trying to fight his way up the order.
Huffy's looking feisty.
Yes, he is.
He's looking for the opportunity.
Well, now, talking to Rob about the wet conditions in Ricard, he said, actually, the Lada is quite soft, and that is working in these conditions. He may have better tyre temperature than almost anybody else, and that might just give him enough of an edge. The Honda comes back around the outside, a little bit more traction there. Again, the Orica-built engines in the Lada, not much wrong with them in a straight line, as we've seen before. Huffy really making a race of this. Sleeves, look at the water pouring off the wheels. I mean, this is ridiculous. Safety car, it had to come. The lead is now lapping in 2 minutes 20, nearly 2:21.
Tarquini was almost off there.
Big save. And that might be the end of the race as we know it, I'm afraid. Can't see, A, that the rain's going to stop instantly, or B, that anybody's going to have any tyre temperature left. Safety car has missed the leaders, and this is James Thompson coming around the inside of Mehdi Banani. Was that a change for 13th place? It was.
There's a bit of a few flesh wounds to the side of Tomo's car there. He's obviously been in the action. Whatever setup they've got on Valente's car, it's not nice, is it?
Not sure they've backed it off at all to account for the rain. Safety car at the exit of pit road, which means that everybody's going to have to go around for another lap before joining the safety car queue.
Looks like Bruno, the safety car driver, stopped to have a sandwich.
Well, it is an Alpha. It is raining. I couldn't possibly say anything further than that. So what's the deal now then? I mean, okay, let's all play race director. The rain is getting worse. You're seeing stuff like this lap after lap as Ivan Muller has made it up past the very bouncy Hugo Vallant. I think Vallant's car, as you said, Matt, is definitely not best set up. But when Muller was going down the straight there, you could see the splitter, which is 2 inches off the ground, was actually cutting into the water in the puddles.
Oh, I mean,
and John Philippi, our TC2 leader, is off.
Is that under safety car?
Yep. Well, that's because now they've slowed down. There's no tyre temperature.
No, I wouldn't go that quickly, Martin.
Wow.
I mean, unless... I don't know.
Well, he's hit a puddle, and off he's gone.
I mean, as a driver, you'd welcome the safety car coming out, unless you're on the attack. Yeah. So...
unless you're Muller,
for their sake, yeah, fantastic. But as for me, watching from the commentary box and talking about it, and the fans, then you want to put the drivers under a bit of pressure, don't you? So you'd want it to continue.
Well, you do, but on the other hand, you want it to be racing.
I'll tell you what, Muller, never mind him struggling to get his head around the cars. He's just making little mistake after little mistake this year. And so, I mean, very uncharacteristic.
After these errors, if he ends up winning the championship, my goodness, he really does have some luck on his side. Well, we're going to hear from Rob Huff, hopefully, as long as the electrics work, and find out just what the driver's view of it is. See, I imagine that Huffy will be between two stools. He was really having a great race with Gabrielli, really getting into it in conditions where the Lada didn't seem to be particularly disadvantaged. On the other hand, he knows it's not getting any safer. You know, where do you go with that? I know from Mirek's point of view, he will let them race as much as he can, but look at the replay of the start from Huffy. Got great traction away, just beat the Hondas. Got the drop emblem immediately, and he was looking up inside Tom Chilton for 4th or 5th place. Couldn't quite find the traction as they went 3 wide. Pretty filthy conditions. And is that Huffy off live behind the safety car? No, there he is. Let's hear from Rob.
So, as you can see on board with me, weather conditions absolutely horrific. Struggling to keep the car. Even now behind the safety car, the car is just aquaplaning on the start-finish straight. If I'm quite frank with you, it's very dangerous, and they should stop the race. You can see I daren't take my hands off the wheel. We're going left, we're going right. It's completely crazy. At 145 kilometers an hour, we should be red flagging this race. It's not fun out here. It's not great at all. We got a good start. Got a few places, but struggled to get any temperature in the tyres off the start, and lost a few places back, but settled in quite nicely behind Montero. But in all honesty, guys, I can see nothing out of my windows. There's puddles everywhere. The car is completely out of control, and how no one's had a very big accident yet, I don't know, but the sooner we stop this race at the moment, the better.
You know, I think there will be the best drivers in the world. There's lots of runoff areas. Why don't they just get on with it? Well, the simple fact is that these cars are not boats, and this is boating weather. And no matter what you do, as Huffy says, it's the devil's own job to keep the car on the track, and they're doing, you know, half the speed at best that they would be doing in racing conditions. And all that is going to happen is somebody's going to have the mother and father of all shunts.
Yeah, you can tell he's not happy. He's definitely not happy in there. During that interview, and you can see he's even just cruising behind the safety car how hard he's having to work. It would have been great to see him from that shot during the race conditions, but I think they've got no, because the rain is still coming down just as hard. They've got no alternative. They're going to have to pull race back.
What's happened now, of course, is that there is now no temperature left in the tyres. Those wet weather tyres may as well be wood for all the grip they're going to give you. So if they try and restart it, it's going to be worse than if they hadn't stopped it at all. And John Philippi, who was going to win TC2 after that off, has come into the pits. I know they've extended the lead for another lap. Well, after 3/4 distance, 75% of race distance, we will get the red flag. This is race 8, lap 8 rather. They will have to do another one. In fact, that's not 75% of race distance. Race distance is 11 laps. You have the ability to add 2 laps. So you could have stopped it at 75% of 11 laps, and that would still have been 75% of the projected race distance, which was 11 laps. Marquin Ha, probably glad he's in the garage and not in a car right now, I think. And when he does get to make his debut, I imagine that he'll be hoping for dry. Be doing that, Matt, and I think stopping the race now is the only option that we have.
Yeah, I mean, one of the positives, Michelitz is going to get a podium for Honda. There's a lot of Hungarian fans come over the border for this race, and, you know, there's a big crowd actually here, I mean, despite these weather conditions. So it's going to be another good podium for the home crowd, you know, considering Norby had a rough Hungaroring last week, so that's a positive. For Loeb and Lopez, they're going to be rubbing their hands together, seeing what are down at the back end of the top 10.
Well, and the other thing is that for all the fact that there were drivers kind of hassling for a position, there wasn't an awful lot of passing going on because the conditions were getting so bad. So we haven't stopped a race. We've essentially stopped a long queue of cars waiting for the big one to happen. All right, it's not Talladega, but you try telling that to the guy who goes off at 160 clicks into a barrier somewhere because he's skidding across the top of a lake. The fact that it's not Talladega really doesn't make that much difference.
Wet weather, ridiculous. Look at that.
Exactly,
ridiculous.
Exactly. You know, police would be warning drivers not to make a journey unless it was absolutely necessary, and it is not absolutely necessary to have any more laps. So the weather had pretty much neutralised the race anyway. As you said, Matt, a few battle scars there on Tomo's car. I think he's had a monster slide through a gravel trap somewhere in that.
Yeah, they have to. If people ask why is the safety car going out? Because they have to do a minimum distance to be classified as a full race and get full championship points. So that'll be the reason they're just completing so many laps under the safety car before they knock the whole thing on the head.
So the poor grid girls are going to have to go out and get onto the podium in weather like this. At least the drivers have a set of overalls on. The girls are in a skinny lycra suit. One of those days when grid girls perhaps aren't enjoying being grid girls quite as much as they had thought they might do yesterday.
I think Ben and Alex should be right there, right on the edge of the pit lane to interview the drivers as they come out.
I'm not sure I want to see Ben in lycra, wet or otherwise. I'm just leaving that on the table. There are some Norby fans that are spotting themselves on the Jumbotron screen. Well, in fact, the race is a sellout here in Slovakia. They sold more tickets for Slovakia than they actually did even in the Hungaroring. So it's apparently a slightly better deal for the Hungarian fans to buy a ticket for Slovakia and drive here for the day than it is to get into the Hungaroring. However, they will be delighted with Norby, who is on the podium in third place. Another Honda podium. So
as Ben said, €12 to get in here. That's just like the British Grand Prix then, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Very good value. Just like the British Grand Prix. Hang on a minute, what?
God, you can see the barrels of water coming off the side of there.
It is ridiculous, isn't it? And, you know, there was no question in my mind that Mirek did exactly the right thing. Throw out the safety car in the vain hope that something might happen that was good. And in the end, what he's actually done is made sure that nothing happened that was bad, which is probably the least worst situation that we could have had. So, at the end of this lap, the race will be concluded with the red checkered flag. Not quite sure which, but Franz Sengster in the BMW, I'm sure will be very that it has all come to an end. Trying to get those cars around in these conditions. Peter Foulin, though, in his first ever race, front-wheel drive car, in his first ever race in a turbo, his first ever race sequential gearbox, ends up winning TC2. So Foulin was racing, he did 2 races this morning in the European Touring Car Cup in his 2-litre normally aspirated H-pattern gearbox BMW, and then converted into the front-wheel drive, turbocharged, sequential gearboxed Seat Leon that he's racing with Campos. So talk about mind-bending weekends. And he was second to the turbo BMW of Mato Homola in race 2. A great drive.
At least they're both left-hand drive.
Yeah, well, yes, all right, yeah, I'll give you that. Fair enough. And in these conditions, he may have found that the front-wheel drive car was than a turbo BMW. Well, there.
The Castrol boys have condition.
Saw him at lunchtime. He was already sort of wet from the ground to the knee up, and I think it was starting to permeate all the way through. Here is Sebastian Loeb and Matt Neal. Although they've come slowly round the last lap, and that will have helped the misting on the windows, visibility from inside the car as well as the weather outside can't exactly have been getting any better. So stopping the race in all ways a great call.
Yeah, you can see on the side of that Citroen, all the side windows are all misted up. They use, it's not like a road car or anything like that. You haven't got any ventilation in there. It's all sealed up tight for the aero to make the aero work properly, and the cabin space is actually a pressurized area, so of negative pressure, as well as the underbonnet. So, you know, they'll treat all the windows with anti-fog, trying to make it work, and trying to keep the vision as clear as possible for the drivers. But it's inevitable with the heat coming off the engine and the turbo that you will get some misting.
I wonder what the rules are for plugging in an electric heater, a 4-bar heater inside your car during parc fermé, because it needs that to warm it up and cool it down. There is our pit reporter for Eurosport France, and for all of Citroen's trumpeting of the great world market and everything, they are very, very intent on sending the right message home to Paris, aren't they?
All the holes in the shells. I was racing in the Astras, the Vauxhall Astras, many moons ago, and there used to be all holes in the floor, and it used to, literally, the cabin used to fill up with water. So when you hit the brakes at the end of the straight, there'd be a big tidal wash up by your feet. And then as you accelerated out, all the water would go back in the boot.
See, Ben and I would tell you that what you need there is an automatic baler in the bottom of a car that only lets water out and doesn't bring it in, and the airflow underneath would work. Laurie Tellman interviewing race winner Sebastian Loeb, so we'll get to him in a moment or two. You saw Jose Maria Lopez looking fairly happy with his day. Yvan Muller a little less so, I'm afraid.
Let's have a look at his face, see if we can get a glimpse of his face.
saying downcast is that body language. Yves Maton is going to need to do a little bit of massaging to get Yvan back into the right place after that. After jubilation last weekend. Well, it wasn't the...
He's lucky he got away with that one.
He's never lucky to get away with those, is he?
He wasn't 10 times ice racing champion for nothing.
Exactly. It was the jump start. That was the thing. And whether that was an electrical thing, a steering wheel deal, I'm not sure. Well, let's hear from our race winner. Sebastian Loeb is with Alex Le Guin.
Yep, Sebastian Loeb winning here in Slovakia. Sebastian, possibly not the way that you wanted to win, but a win nevertheless. No vision, crazy out there. What was it like?
Yeah, it was crazy, especially at the end when they put in the safety. I think it was a right choice, because it started to be very tricky. We had aquaplaning all the time, and but okay, for me it was a great race. I had a great start. Much better than in Hungary, where I lost a few places, so it was a good start. First position at the first corner, then I had for sure a better road, because you see better when you are in the front. I tried to push. Pechito was just a bit behind, but he couldn't push enough to catch me, so then I was really happy and tried to stay concentrated, no mistakes, and that's it. So really happy. 25 points is great.
Exactly what you needed. Brilliant drive. Well done, Seb.
Yep.
Yeah, great job by Sebastian Loeb, and if anybody's going to tippy-toe around in slimy conditions, he's got a couple of years of experience.
You know what came into my head then? When he said Pachito couldn't push, I thought he was going to say Pachito couldn't push because I told him he wasn't allowed to.
Because I said so. No, I think if we would have had a really good battle on our hands for victory, but in those conditions, you wouldn't be doing your job for Citroen if you had said, yeah, guys, go and have at it. You know, after the first 5 or 6 laps, it was clearly not going to be nice. So race 1 here in Slovakia ends pretty much on time, but several laps short as the weather intervened. Forecast, I'm here to tell you, for the rest of the afternoon does not look any better. Hello, is that Noah? Yeah, about that arc.
Here in Slovakia of the FIA World Touring.
So ready for our first podium of the afternoon here in Slovakia. In third place. He might be moist, but he's happy. Write your own punchlines. Norman Michaelis for Zengo Motorsport Honda. In second place for Total Citroën Racing, Pechito Lopez. And our race winner for Total Citroën Racing, Sebastian Loeb. And Peter Fulin, first time out in World Touring Car Championship, claims the TC2 win. Well done indeed to Peter. Very unusual set of Seat overalls for him.
And
the anthem for our winning manufacturer, that'd be the same. So congratulations to Citroën, a 1-2 result. Ivan Muller down in 10th place, not able to really take his place in the trio after fluffing his start and making the jump start. Third place trophy to Norman Michaelis after Thiago took a third and a second last weekend.
The trophy for the second place is also presented to Mr. Agustino.
Great start from Norby, really aggressive work at the start and worked out well for him. Jose Maria Lopez, the pole man, beaten away at the lights by Sebastian Loeb, and that's where the race pretty much ended. However, another hatful of points. He's on the podium almost every time. His teammates change around him, and that's the consistency you need to be a champion. Matt Neal, points make prizes, and every single race, if you're on the podium, you are another step closer to taking the title in Macau.
At this time of the year, it's all just about bagging the points and bagging as many points as you can. So they've just got to keep targeting those strong points finishes, you know, which Ivan will be desperately disappointed with that. It's a passed-up opportunity. Yeah, the problem is there's no chinks in any of their armours. You know, they're all multiple champions from around the world. Loeb needs no introduction. Muller needs no introduction. Lopez, some people might not know his history, but he's Formula 1 test driver, and he wasn't that for any reason. GP2, Renault World Series, you know, TC 2000 champion multiple times, so in Argentina, which is an incredibly competitive series. So, you know, it's going to be, whoever wins it this year is going to have fought for it.
Yeah, no question.
Internally, that is, you know, internally.
Very pleased for Peter Fulin as well to see him up on the podium there. He's taken the bold decision to race a TC2 car for the weekend. Really in at the deep end. And he swam but didn't sink here. So congratulations indeed to him. Two really good races in European touring cars. First wet to dry, the second one pretty much dry all the way through. And wins in TC2. So congratulations to him. So confirmation then of our race result, round 7 of the FIA World Touring Car Championship. Loeb, Lopez, 1-2 for Citroën. Michaelis in third place for Honda. Then Coronel, Chilton, Morbidelli in their Chevys. Thiago Monteiro, Gabriele Tarquini 7th and 8th. They'll be at the sharp end of the grid for race 2 with Hugo Vallant between them, as Monteiro starts on pole, Vallant 2nd, and Tarquini in 3rd spot. Coronel will line up in 4th. Bedelli, Mikulits, and then the Citroens with Muller 8th, Loeb 9th, and Lopez 10th. And expecting wet conditions, it might be pretty tough for the Citroen trio to work their way right through to the sharp end. So Loeb closes a fraction on Lopez. Muller drops to 3rd, was 12 points behind after qualifying, now nearly back to where he was after race 1 in Marrakesh, 31 points behind Lopez. So his boost in points from Paul Ricard has taken a bit of a slump here this weekend. He didn't get a 0 in race 1, but he only got a single point. So the battle continues to fascinate, and Lopez looking very strong at the moment in command of this championship. So that is it for a very wet race 1. Whatever else you do with your afternoon, wherever you are, your early morning, your late night, please join us at 5:45 p.m. And if it's continuing to rain like this, those stickers that instead of lights might need to be replaced by actual lights here in Slovakia. 5:45 Central European, 3:45 Greenwich Mean Time, wherever you are. Join us then. Enjoy your afternoon.